All right, everyone, welcome back into another Fantasy Golf video. Going to be breaking down the John Deere Classic. This is an event that I've been to a few times myself as well. It's one of the few events that I get to go to. This and the 3M Open is another one. So it's an event that I really like. And in terms of like the Midwest swing, I will say it is probably one of the least predictable of them. We tend to see a little bit more random results at this tournament. That being said, I really like the week that we have on paper this week. I think it could have set up to be one of the better weeks PGA DFS wise. And that's coming in off of a week last week that ended up being, pretty much exactly how I expected it to be, minus Max Grayson not winning and kind of having a random winner there. We'll touch on that in just a second. But for this week, for betting purposes, for DFS purposes, I think it's a pretty straightforward weekend. It's actually one of the more encouraging weeks that we have seen thus far this year. And really, that's been the case like the last 4 weeks or so, DFS-wise, and like for betting purposes-wise, a little bit more straightforward. So liking this portion of the season. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. So real quickly, let's just get into a recap from last week. Last week, again, pretty much spot on. A little soft pat on the bat. I kind of mentioned it would be a week in which, for GPP purposes, would end up being a very good weekend. I kind of regret not attacking it more from the cash perspective as well, just because it ended up being a pretty solid week there as well. Looking at all the cash plays, right? Ricky was a disappointment there. Keegan, disappointment there. But Ben Griffin, Max Grayson, kind of two starting points. Kevin Roy ended up delivering as well. Really good stuff on the lower end. Lots of 6-for-6 lineups as well. Just through and through, very good stuff. I kind of mentioned Ben Griffin would be a starting point for us, and just throughout the process, being on Colin Morikawa over Keegan Bradley and Patrick Hanley like that, and having Max Grayson, as one of the players that we're going out of our way to target. Now, I do want to call this out. This is crazy, guys. So we had the worst leverage play win, and I think this is something to talk about. Now, if you look at kind of the top leverage plays, for the most part, pretty much paid off, but nothing too crazy. What I ended up calling out in the 905 write-up is that we basically didn't want to be on Cameron Davis or Cameron Young. I mentioned a bunch, like the fact that Cameron Young was like one, high owned in DFS, and then also two, a player that everyone was betting on outright-wise was just stupid, very stupid. Now, that being said, you would argue the same reason why you'd be on Cameron Young is the same reason why you'd be on the eventual winner there as well. But those are just more random winners. We know that we have the data behind kind of who we should be betting on each and every week. Now, we will have certain random winners like that. A young golfer that, statistically speaking, just terrible on paper, right? There's just no way to come to any other conclusion other than he is like an educated dart thrower where, all right, you're like, this is a young golfer. He can hit long. Maybe some other parts of his game click. He's had 2 good events thus far this year, one of them being his last event. That does happen like 3 or so times per year, max of 5, typically speaking, where a young golfer randomly has stuff click and ends up winning, where maybe a new star is born. We do see that happened last week. Tilting for me personally, and probably a lot of you guys, were definitely going out of our way to be on Max Grayson. He definitely had a chance to win. Continues to tilt, though. I mentioned this a little bit, where the Rocket Classic has been arguably one of the most fun tournaments each and every year for outright betting purposes, or I should say exciting, because having Max Grayson lose in the way he did, where he missed multiple somewhat short putts to win, very tilting there. But I mentioned in the past, like we lost to Cam Davis in twice now, where Aaron Ryan, Davis Thompson last year were 2 players that lost by 1 stroke. Cameron Davis also beat us with the Joaquin Neiman and Troy Merritt outright bet as well in a playoff. So tilting here, we've had success betting wise as well. Definitely profitable at this event, but fun tournament. Continues to tilt. Very happy with the results from last week, though, as well. Just the process of it as well. Hopefully, we can do that again this week for the John Deere Classic. So, getting to the tournament preview for the John Deere Classic, it is a Parkland-style course. I think this kind of summarizes the course pretty well. You got some trees, got some bunkers. Typically, it is an easier scoring event, a little bit of a shorter track. We do tend to see golfers that can putt well be the golfers that tend to elevate themselves a decent amount. Think Steve Stricker, Zach Johnson, multiple winners at this tournament. Where they've had those players have success. Lucas Glover, winner. Michael Kim's won at this event. Two players that are actually playing this event, Davis Thompson last year. This tournament does have one of the more fun closing holes, I would say, on tour as well. And it feels weird saying that. People like to give the John Deere Classic a lot of shit for whatever reason. I think it's just where it falls on the season. It doesn't get as much attention as it should, and it is a easier scoring track. And maybe it's just where it's located as well. But it's I think it's just one of those things where people haven't been to it, so they dog on it because they don't know. But it's a solid event. Parts of it can be a little bit tough to walk as well. Maybe that's part of it. There's a couple of holes there in a row where you're like, oh man, a little bit tedious. But it's set up well. It's set up for fun as well. Maybe it's just because it is a little bit more of a random week due to not all the best players in the world playing it. Some golfers might actually end up withdrawing. We'll talk about Ben Griffin in a second here, but overall, fun tournament. Now, the interesting thing about this tournament is because of where it falls on the schedule and really the location of it, not a lot of players are tending to play in this event every year or back-to-back years. It's just not an event where it draws big name value, and I get it. But we have, this year we actually have a decent amount of golfers that have played this course a lot and have played this course well a lot as well, which to me, that should lead to a decent amount of predictability for us here. And it's something that you kind of love to see on paper. So a lot of golfers that have the course history that we want to see. And while we're talking about course history, I do just want to take a peek at some of the players that, are from the local area somewhat. Zach Johnson, obviously, a player that's won this event, typically plays this course well. 4 straight make cuts, looking at it this way as well. So you'd love to see that there from him. He's a golfer that hasn't necessarily played well this year, but also not terrible in terms of how you would expect him to play on courses like this course. That's something that I do think we should call. He's the 32nd best specialist in the field, so that bodes well for him. Nick Hardy is someone that from the area, decent stat fit, relatively speaking, considering his price. Recent form, not complete garbage. 62nd in the field, and relatively speaking, 2 out of 3 make cuts. You like that there from him. And then you also have Doug Gim, 3 out of 4 make cuts. Also not a terrible stat fit, coming in off of the 19th place finish. I think all 3 of those, for GPP purposes, we should be at maybe about 5%, but nothing that we should go, too crazy with as well. So the nice part about this portion of the season, the Midwest swing, is we are seeing courses that we've seen a bunch now at this point. And I love the fact that they gave us the Rocket Classic, they gave us the 3M Open. We actually had this true Midwest swing. We can actually target some of the golfers that tend to play well on these tracks. The nice thing about the John Deere Classic, though, with its history, is that we know which key stats we look at. It's a birdie fest, so we know that birdie or better percentage. Ball striking, it is more of a second shot golf course, but you can't be too terrible off the tee. So we are total driving does need to be a slight factor in there as well, which if you guys don't know, total driving is a part of the ball striking stat. Strokes gained putting as well. I mentioned this. Because of the scoring, because of the short nature of the course, you need to be scoring birdies with your putter, obviously, but it matters more here. And then again, it's a second shot golf course, so we're looking at strokes gained approach, par 5 scoring, again key, because we are trying to get golfers that can score. So with that, Ben Griffin's going to be the class of the field. We'll talk about Oleson popping up there a decent amount, Alex Smalley. These 2 are probably going to be GPP only plays. You got Andrew Putnam popping up in there, who hasn't necessarily had a great course history. We'll talk about that in a second. Kevin Yu, if we knew that Kevin Yu was healthy, he'd be someone we're going out of our way to target. Kevin Roy, fascinating odds that we're getting on Kevin Roy, so he's going to be someone I think we're going to get to as well. Let's go ahead and jump into the recent form. And surprisingly, guys, we are getting a decent amount of good golfers form-wise. Okay, so Ben Griffin, obviously just the class of the field. I think based off of his performance last week, he's locked in his spot for the Ryder Cup, assuming he doesn't fall off a cliff in the next few events that he's playing in. You could arguably say that he shouldn't play in any more events if he was just trying to make the Ryder Cup, which I don't think golfers are necessarily trying to do. I know some are, but I don't think golfers would necessarily do that. But based off of how he's played lately, you couldn't deny a player like that from the Ryder Cup based off of how he's played. 13th, 14th, 10th, second, first. I mean, he's arguably the 3rd best golfer in the world right now, and he's playing in the John Deere Classic maybe. But that's where I'm he's probably going to withdraw. He's probably withdrawing right now as I'm recording this video because he should win. And you can get him at 16-1 odds. Just right away, guys, I was actually I gasped a little bit. I'm not even joking. I was like, what the heck is going on? Ben Griffin's at 16-1, and he's priced at 10.4 on DraftKings. I honestly thought when I saw Ben Griffin in the field, 1, he'd be the highest priced player on the slate. 2, he'd be $12K. I thought he'd be maybe 5-1 odds. And that, like, data-wise, too, he should be. Like, this is an insane line that we're getting on Ben Griffin. Take advantage of that. If he doesn't win, at 16-1, still the correct bet. It just is. And then also, for what it's worth, 10.4 on DraftKings, they're making him probably be one of the chalkiest plays on the year, I would assume, because, again, he's not priced up enough. And then from there, we do have Chris Goddard, Vince Whaley, Sam Stevens, Jason Day, Andrew Putnam, who's had multiple top 10 finishes, JT Poston, who's been very solid. If we want to sort of like made cuts, which is kind of interesting here, we have Denny McCarthy, who's made 20 straight cuts on the PGA Tour, Michael Kim, 11 former winners, Sam Stevens, 9, Siwoo Kim, 8, Ben Griffin, 7. Like, the fact that we can get this many golfers that have had like more than 3 made cuts in a row in a tournament like this, it's like doesn't really happen. Like, this is pretty awesome here. So again, this should lead to a little bit more predictability, especially with some golfers that we have seen play a decent amount. Now, fun quick story here. I want to call it Henrik Norlander, who has made 3 straight cuts in a row on the PGA Tour here. 1 missed cut recently over his past 7, top 7 and 20th. The reason I'm bringing him up is, this is going back like almost 7 years now probably, but I remember watching Norlander warm up on a Saturday morning. Just kind of a fun story. And the amount of care he had was so minimal, I was just completely shocked. It was one of like the eye-opening moments for me, especially with a player like him. And then I remember like 2 years after that, he was very vocal basically about that, where he's like, I need to concentrate more. I need to care. It was just one of the weirdest things I can recall seeing from a player. Now, I think he made the cut in the number. I don't think he was playing all too well. He was just kind of like, all right, I'm here. I'm going to close out the weekend. But one of the weirdest things there, not necessarily a fun story, I guess, just interesting tidbit about like pro golfers sometimes and maybe their mindset after they make a cut. Like Michael Kim, for example, at the U.S. Open had a freaking beer on Friday night before heading out to his Saturday round. Like, that sort of stuff is just like insane for me to wrap my head around. I guess when you secure a check, you're kind of like, whatever. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, why wouldn't you want to play your best possible? Like, why wouldn't you show up mentally sharp in either of those scenarios? And so enough fluff, guys. Let's go ahead and get into the top picks for this week. So obviously Ben Griffin is going to be the class of the field, which does that sound weird to say? I don't know. At this point, no. Strangely enough, guys, I did a poll on X last week. It's like, who is the best player in the field last week for the Rocket Mortgage, and like only 28% or so, maybe it was like 22%, said Ben Griffin was. It was like a yes or no question. And I find that strange because the way you measure like who's the best is really in like a 7-week sample set, whether, and I guess maybe it's due, maybe people look at it in a 2-year period and whatnot. I don't necessarily know, but like he should have been considered the best player in the field last week, as he should be considered the best player in the field this week. The consistency is there. Look at the metrics, guys. He ranks, this is basically Scotty-esque, where he's the best effort, the best recent form, second best course history, 1 start, but finished 5th, 8th best specialist as well. Typically speaking, Sky's like first. And look at this. Like, this is kind of the issue that we have, though, specialist-wise. So, the unique characteristics for the tournament. Nothing too great or too poor. I mean, weather should be fine. Scoring, easy scoring, 6th in the field there, but nothing alarming there as well. And again, form has been phenomenal. He should be a player that we're looking at, again, if he plays. Now, Jason Day is interesting, going to be someone that does rank out well in the 9-to-5 data here, but he is more of a GPP only play at that price tag. Sort of by salary here. JT Poston, I'm fine with, but the player that I think that kind of stands out pricing wise as well is Denny McCarthy. He is a little bit easier to fit into builds, and obviously we love him with his course history, 7th, 6th, 6th, and miscut. Don't love the miscut, but 3 straight top 10 finishes here. Love that there from him. Recent form has been solid as well. 12th at the Travelers. Made the cut at the U.S. Open, a tournament that you wouldn't necessarily expect him to play well at. Didn't play well at the Memorial Tournament. Again, not a tournament that you would necessarily think he would play well at. But he's just been a player that has produced good results at tournaments that don't necessarily set up his game, whereas this week we have him at a course and tournament that should be much better for his game. Does really well at these greens, with the fairway width, with the course style, with the scoring. Everything here sets up pretty well for Danny McCarthy, and I think I'm fine getting to him, especially at that price tag. Siwoo Kim's fine, Davis Thompson's fine. The issue that we have here is that it to me it does really seem like Danny McCarthy, Ben Griffin, and then we're kind of figuring out from there. But that being said, we do have Michael Thorbornson here at a cheap price tag as well. He is someone form-wise has been, pretty solid. Besides the Charles Schwab Challenge, 4th, 41st, 54th, 33rd, 7th, and 2nd. So pretty darn good stuff there from him. He does really well on these shorter tracks, first in the field in short scoring events or short track scoring events. So like that there from him. Course history wise is phenomenal as well. 2nd and 17th. Overall, not a terrible stat fit. Wish he was a little bit better putter, and also in terms of stroke gain approach, we need that to step up a little bit, but he still is pretty good ball striking and birdie or better percentage. So I do think we're expecting him to play well this week. Maybe not necessarily someone I would consider in cash, but for outright betting, if you guys want to get to him at 35-1, I think that's the correct move. And I do just want to jump back into Ben Griffin and also Danny McCarthy real quick for outright numbers. Again, I'm pretty shocked. 16-1 there for Ben Griffin still on DraftKings and FanDuel. That to me is a bit of a head scratcher. And again, the pricing is weird, right? You got Jason Day at 21-1 and Ben Griffin at 15-1. Maybe they're expecting him to withdraw as well. And then outright wise as well, let's just take a quick peek at Danny McCarthy. 16-1 odds for him as well. Or sorry, that's Ben Griffin still. There we go. Danny McCarthy here, 28-1. Oh, 33-1 on PointsBet. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think we should be placing that bet there. And so for first look build purposes, I will put Ben Griffin in there and Danny McCarthy. We'll try to figure out kind of where we can go from there. I think if we got news that like someone like Kevin Yu was actually good to go, we'd be much more inclined to play him. He's withdrawn from 2 straight events for the annoying thing of undisclosed reasons. Again, going back to it, golf, like for this instance as well, where you're withdrawn from events that you previously were scheduled to play at, you should have to submit why. At the very least, like give us that. The fact that we don't know is pretty crazy. If someone knows, let us know in the comment section below. Because if it's an injury, don't love that. Obviously, it makes it more difficult, but if he's good to go, give me someone we would maybe even consider in cash. Like that's how good of a play he is on paper. Like Kevin Yu is coming in as the 3rd best pick in the 9-to-5 model, 4th overall when we include betting data. Okay, you can get him at 40-1 odds, which I think we might just want to do that regardless. I think that's a decent route to go with there in general. Course history is great. 20th and 6th here. Key stat wise, pretty solid. 5th in the field in birdie better percent. 7th in the field in ball striking. Stroke and punting. Obviously, we need a spike. We got off in putting wise, but 76th in the field, not terrible there. And 8th in the field in stroke gain approach. So playing really well for the most part. 3rd at the RBC, 4th at the Myrtle Beach Classic. Love that there from him. Putting in the field, not terrible though. 37th in the field on these type of greens, these bank greens. So that does bode well for him there as well. So Kevin Yu is a player that to me does stand out. Luke Clan, I don't mind. Bud Colley, I don't mind. Ryan Gerard to me is one of the more interesting clicks given his pricing as well. I feel like he's kind of Max Gracerman from last week, where we look at it data wise, kind of checking all the boxes, really. Made 1 start this tournament over the past 4 years, 26 at that tournament. You look at his recent form, 12th in the field in recent form. 41st last week, 54th, 50th, 23rd, 73 or 73rd at the Charles Schwab. Like pretty good results, guys. 7 straight made cuts for him on the PGA Tour. Nothing great. We would like to see, a little bit better results recent form wise, at least like a top 10 mixed in there. But overall, still popping up a decent amount. Top 20 in terms of stat fit as well. Again, nothing too crazy data wise, but as a whole, he's looking like a very solid play on paper. And he's someone that I wouldn't know if I'd necessarily consider him a core play given the pricing that we have on him. I think we're getting almost as good of options cheaper than him, but he is someone that I do think we can toss into a build and then maybe adjust from there. So let's do that. And so based off the average salary, we probably are going to have to make some adjustments here, but I just want to call it kind of the lineup process does seem to be simple here. And my goodness, I just look at the made cuts for last week's winner. This is just crazy, right? We'll get into that. 8 out of 17. It's crazy, right? A second where he almost won, obviously, at Mexico. And maybe that's the thing, guys. Maybe with him from now on, doesn't matter what he's done overall. Just need one relatively good start, and then he's all systems go, as long as there's not too much penalty off the tee. Just interesting. Data-wise, when something like that happens, it's like you're kind of like fine. It's like whatever. It's going to happen. It's part of it, and you can kind of write it off. But it's just crazy. That's also what makes betting on golf fun. But before we jump fully into that low tier, I do want to mention Sam Stevens, who, again, 9 straight made cuts. Love that there from him. Nothing too crazy, but nothing terrible as well. Like giving us results we'd want. 23rd at the U.S. Open, we'll take that. 3rd at the CJ Cup, we'll take that. Does have course experience, not necessarily good. 34th and a miscut. Staff it wise, not good, but he is a very good specialist. So that's kind of interesting. Really excels specialist wise. Not a good staff fit. He is someone though, pricing wise, I get it. I don't think there's much there, but not a terrible play. Michael Kim is someone that's interesting as well. Not good course history, and people don't always love when I phrase it that way for a golfer that's won at this event, but it's terrible, right? I mean, 3 straight miscuts at this event, but he does have 11 straight made cuts on the PGA Tour. Not a bad staff fit. Just kind of an interesting play at that price. I was hoping he'd be a little bit cheaper. And then Oleson as well is someone that's an interesting click this week, guys. So 3rd best staff in the field, so really just excels there. He's someone you could actually toy around, I think, with outright bet wise, as well as 50 to 1. Because he's in the 10th best form in the field, does have course experience. Not a good start last year, but do like the fact that he has that course experience. We haven't seen that recent upside from him, but overall he's been playing some good golf. I could toy around with that. I don't think I'm getting there, but if you guys were thinking that, I wouldn't blame you. And so now we go ahead and jump into the low tier. So someone like Alex Smalley was a big disappointment last week, but he's also going to be a good staff fit this week. We see course history wise, I mean, kind of the definition of a GPP only play, where miscut at this event last year, and then 2 years ago, 2nd place finish. So like a decent play overall. Don't hate him. But the player that kind of sticks out, we actually have 2 players that stick out to me in this pricing tier. One is going to be Mark Hubbard. Just Mark Hubbard is kind of the player you would expect to play well at this event. If you want to call him a poor man's Danny McCarthy, you certainly could do that. I would argue they're actually very similar. Okay, Mark Hubbard comes in as the 6th best pick in the 9 to 5 model, overall 10th model rank. He is someone I do think I'll be betting on. 50 to 1 odds to me is correct. Okay, that's what it should be, but I still think he's a good outright bet at 50 to 1. But that does reflect kind of how poorly he is priced. Like we mentioned a bunch of golfers that have similar odds to him, and we're getting him much cheaper price tag. So I like that there for DFS purposes. Course history wise, great. 32nd, 6th, 13th. I love that there from him, and 41st. So 4 straight made cuts at this tournament. Recent form, we don't love the recent miscut at the US Open, but oh well for Mark Hubbard. Like you don't expect him to play well there at all. Okay, so love the fact that he played well at the Rocket Classic last week, 13th. We see 2 top 10 finishes over his last 7 starts there as well. So a very good play at that price tag. He is someone, again, at that price tag. I think we're just putting him into our builds. And then same thing here with Andrew Putnam, where we do have to think about it a little bit. But Andrew Putnam has just been in such good form, and the form has been getting better for the most part. I mean, 8th last week, 6th the week prior. Like we're okay with that. Now, the thing with Andrew Putnam is over the last 4 years, he's made 3 starts at this tournament, only made the cut at this tournament once, which was a 41st place finish. The thing with Andrew Putnam is he's typically someone that, over the years has been someone we can kind of trust to give us a good chance at a made cut. And so the fact that he has struggled course history-wise does bother me a little bit. But he is the 4th best staff in the field. Okay. He also is someone that specialist-wise, what is he? 18th in the field, so very good there as well. Really no concerns, I would say, for the most part here, specialist-wise. And the form has been solid. Like 8th, 6th, 15th, Mason there. Like he is someone that if he won this week, to me would not be shocking. Outright wise, at 70 to 1 odds, I think that's pretty darn good. Now, it's not as crazy as last week where I mentioned this. We had him at 150 to 1 on some sites and 90 to 1 on other sites. Like that was just crazy. That should not have been happening. I kind of agree here where FanDuel at 70 to 1 and PointsBet at 70 to 1, that's enough for me to go in on him. And then you got BetMGM at 45 to 1. Just interesting that some sites are seeing this differently, like with him over the last 2 weeks now as well. But again, going back to my point about Mark Hubbard, where we see the odds on him on average, he is someone that we probably should be clicking on a decent amount DFS-wise and possibly outright-wise as well. So yes, he's someone I'm putting in there as well. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to make this specific lineup path work. We're going to have to make a slight adjustment. But I think this kind of goes about showing just how solid of a field that we actually kind of had this week, where we can put together some good builds, and I'll show you that more in a second. And so lastly, we are getting some other good sub 8K plays, but I do just want to mention one more that to me does stand out. That's going to be Kevin Roy. We'll actually touch on him in just a second later on in this video. You got Valimaki here, who's kind of an interesting click as well. He is someone that could honestly randomly pop up and win, although I don't think it'd be too random. Like he did play well at this event last year. Top 10 stat fit. We see a recent 7th and 19th place finish. He is someone GPP-wise I think we should begin to. You got Cameron Champ, okay. Patrick Rogers, okay. We got a lot of plays that we could potentially consider, but I don't think we should go too crazy. So from there, let's go ahead and jump into the value tier, which is going to be that sub 7K tier. And to me, Hayden Springer was a guy that was added to the field late last week. I had a good round one last week, and he is someone that to me kind of stood out as someone we could be on last week. And so now that we're getting him at under 7K, I think he's someone that we can certainly consider. Top 10 at this event last year, so I like that. Key stat-wise, 7th in the field in birdie better percentage. Nothing really concerning. Key stat-wise, I mean, strokes gained approach, a little bit concerning, but for the most part, given the pricing that we're getting him, I'm okay with that. Recent form, not great, but 4 straight made cuts for him. Nothing too crazy, but you take out the missed cut at the CJ Cup as well. Really not terrible results. He's still kind of mad at him about the Myrtle Beach Classic. I'm pretty sure I was on him there, but good enough golf for the most part. And so we're okay with Hayden Springer at that price tag. Zach Johnson, I do think, is someone that we need to consider as well. Again, he just loves this tournament. He's someone that's going to play it as much as he can. And we see at the Masters, like, get him on a course where he feels like he can play at, he's going to produce. And so I don't hate him. I think we can get to him. I think he will make the cut, but I don't think we should be expecting like a big upside finish from him. He knows this course well. Basically someone that's your shoulder shrug play to close out a lineup. And then that does it. We could look at some other value plays. I don't think we necessarily need to get there too much. I mentioned Nick Hardy. He's decent. Let's go ahead and just get into the core plays. So core play number one for me, I kind of teased it. It's going to be Kevin Roy, guys. Kevin Roy, I love the recent form with him where his form has been getting better each week, right? So it went from 54th, 46th, 18th, and 8th. So he's someone that we were already on earlier on in this year where we had him for a first round lead, ended up with the first round lead again last week. So he's playing good golf. Only played this tournament once over the past 4 years where he finished 31st 2 years ago at this event. He's a good stat fit where he ranks 30th in the field in birdie better percentage, ball striking 4th. Strokes gained putting could be better, 53rd. A little bit of a concern there, but strokes gained approach 22nd in the field, so very good there. 5 straight make cuts for him, playing good golf. Very cheap price tag though for him, and outright wise as well, I don't mind him at his odds that we can get him at about 65 to 1 on average. But on PointsBet and FanDuel, you can get him at 70 to 1. So we're calling that out there for you guys that do like that as a good bet there as well. Then Denny McCarthy as well. Denny McCarthy playing solid golf. I think we can trust him to make the cut. You know, he has the longest active made cut streak for golfers that are playing in this event. 20 straight make cuts for him. Love that. Has played this tournament well over the past 3 years where he's been finished 7th, 6th, and 6th, and then missed cut the year prior to that. Stat fit, top 30 stat fit. He is someone that you would expect to potentially win, but you do expect him to be in contention to win on Sunday. So from there, the next core play is going to be Mark Hubbard. I mentioned both Danny McCarthy and Mark Hubbard are actually pretty darn similar plays to me on paper this week. Mark Hubbard's form isn't as good given the fact that he missed the cut at the U.S. Open. But again, we wouldn't necessarily expect Mark Hubbard, who's not necessarily a long hitter, to play well at the U.S. Open. And so this course being a short track, I think that points to why he's had success at this tournament. 32nd, 6th, 13th, and 41st. Love that they're from good staff fit. Love him as an outright bet there as well. Then the last core play, Andrew Putnam. A little bit risky. This is more of a core play due to his pricing and due to, again, how Vegas is valuing him. That's more of how I see it. But the form has been pretty darn solid recently, guys. Don't love the course history. That's the concern. That's why I wouldn't necessarily consider him, a prototypical core play. If you wanted to switch off of this, you could. But he's the top 10 staff fit. I think he has a good chance to give us a win. Maybe more. If he wasn't this cheap, I would say he's more of a GPP only play. But because he's cheap, I think he's someone we can consider in cash. So I mentioned how easy it is to make a good build, guys. So just looking at it, like if we were to not play Ben Griffin, if he does end up withdrawing, we could plug in Kevin Yu. If Kevin Yu is going to be good to go, this is a solid build. If not, we can get to Bud Colley, who I don't hate, Sam Stevens, Michael Kim, like a pretty solid build overall. Now, the question might be, what do we do if we get news that Ben Griffin is playing? Do we need to force him into our builds? Potentially, because you're still left over with 7K, and I don't hate that. Like, if we can still get to him, I think we might want to try to do that. Jackson Sumner's there. I don't hate him at a cheap price tag. But for me, I'd probably just end up getting to Hayden Springer, who I mentioned, and we have another pretty darn solid build right here. So we are going to get into kind of what the data is telling us is going to be the best lineup approach to go with. We'll see. But I also want to show you guys some quick updates that I made to the 905 custom model that is still in beta, and that's going to be this optimization mode. Okay, so it's a slight difference. So how it currently is set up to work is it is trying to fulfill the projected ownerships that are there, kind of match that. And so if you guys want to make adjustments off of that, you can by adjusting the min or max exposure. And that's just how it works, but it is working off of the adjusted fantasy projections here. Okay, these are priority-based projections based off of the 9-to-5 data. Okay, so it's just good to know. So like if we add in more data points here, like randomly, I have the model rank just in there, but let's just click in some random data points here. Based off of the data that's available, that's going to adjust the projected fantasy points. Okay, I don't really care about those random ones I just put in there. Let's just take those off. We're going to keep in the 9-to-5 model. So if we want to adjust it, we could do the model rank, but instead of it being off of the base projections that are in there, this is actually just based off the make cut percent and then the attributes that we have selected. That's how it optimizes off of. So if you want to concentrate on getting high 6 for 6%, potentially based off of Vegas odds, one, you can raise up the slider, which is something I tend to do regardless, and then you should be good to go. Okay. Another thing you can do is the make cut percent with the outright odds attached as well. So it's going to basically take the make cut percent and then times it by their percent likely to win and add those points on there. Okay, so that's like the base projections that are there. And then lastly, we have scaled projections just based solely off of their salary. This is more for showdown purposes, but this is kind of a way for you guys, if you didn't want to use the 9-to-5 projections in there, which are basically the same thing, a little bit different. Obviously, there's more that goes into it, much more in depth. You could use this there as well. But let's just take a peek at what's going on here fantasy projection-wise. Just going to click run and see what we're getting here. The top build, as it currently sees, is Andrew Putnam. No surprise there. Eckroat is a little bit interesting. Ben Griffin, Kevin Roy. So, I mean, honestly, this is a pretty darn spectacular lineup. This is very similar to what I was just calling out to you guys as a good lineup. Let's see what it's trying to do ownership-wise. And because it's early on in the week, it's probably going to be a little bit different. But Ben Griffin, Davis Thompson, likes Bud Cauley. I don't mind Bud Cauley. So it does seem to be going more of a fair and balanced approach here, which is fine. I don't mind that. And then lastly, let's just go ahead and get into the traditional lineup builder so you guys can still see this as well. Both of these tools are available on the website. Most of you guys know that by now, but it is presenting a very similar approaches to literally what I just showed you here, guys. And so all three, myself, the custom modded beta that we have there data-wise is giving us a good lineup, and then this is also basically telling us the same stuff. So that sums up why I like this week, because on paper it does look pretty darn good, right? So very solid week there. I think we don't have to have a massive player pool, most likely, especially in terms of players that we're going out of our way to roster. So hopefully it'll be a good week this week. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel before you head on out. If you guys would like access to any of the fantasy golf tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all those tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Including that is going to be PrizePicks and Underdog prop tools as well that you can use for PGA. It's actually been pretty darn solid for PrizePicks and Underdog for props betting there. That's going to do it for this video. Again, thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Head on over to 9to5sports.com to get access to all the tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's keep cashing.